and welcome. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
Amen.
And we are continuing with Parshat vaYak'hel, and hopefully you will see it in a moment. And we're on to a new chapter. And here we are in the midst of Betzalel making stuff. Let me see. Yes. So vayas, he made. So here we're talking about the fabrication of the parts. Vayas Betzalel, so it couldn't be clearer, right? So already we know they're involved in the process, but for some reason it's saying Betzalel made et ha'aron, the ark, atzei shitim, of acacia wood, amatayim v'chetzi orko. Its length was 2.5 cubits. A cubit is approximately 18 inches. So 2.5 cubits would be, let's see, so 18 inches, 2.5 cubits would be 3 feet. Orko, its length, v'amah v'chetzi, and 1.5 cubits rochbo, its width was 1.5 cubits. So that's 18 and 9, so that's 27 inches across, right? And if I got that right, let's see. Yeah. 12 and 6, 18. Yep, 18 inches, 18 by, so yes. V'chatzi, ama v'chatzi kumato. And it was also a cubit and a half, its height, right? So 18 and 6 is 24. So 24 by 24, etc. Right? Am I correct? I hope I am. All right. Let's take a look at this. Kathy, am I right on my math here? So we're talking about, so 2 cubits would be 3 feet, and another 3 feet, 3.5 feet, or 3 feet 9 inches. Let's see, I'm trying to think.
I can't.
So 18 times twice is 36, so that's 3 feet, right? And then
That's
another, and then a 9, and then a chatzi, half a cubit would be 9 inches. So 3 feet 9 inches.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Betzalel. So Rashi's commenting on why does it say Betzalel made? Why his name here? The fish natan nafsho al hamacha. And the reason is he literally, it means he gave his soul regarding the labor. In other words, he was absolutely devoted to the labor. Yoter misha'ar chachamim, more than the other wise people or craftsmen, or however you want to say, nikret al shemo, and for this reason it was named after him. That, in other words, he was given the credit for making the ark. So let's talk about the ark. What did it symbolize? Well, first and foremost, I would say that it is the divine throne. It symbolizes the divine throne, right? And I'm going to see about getting a picture for you right now. Here we are. Okay, let's go back here. Yeah, this. There we are. This is what it looked like. So this is the acacia wood here, and we're going to read about how it was lined both the inside and the outside with gold. So we're going to take another look. Here we are with it constructed. You can see this is the acacia wood on the, and the gold laid acacia wood on the inside. And this gives you an idea of how the poles were. These are the cherubim on the ark cover, and this is it in color for you. So there we are. All right, so let's take a look further. Okay, so what did the ark symbolize? So as I said, in a sense, it represented the divine throne. I can tell you in what way. So because the 10 Commandments and the Sefer Torah were put in the box itself, and also some manna was also placed there. So these were all ways in which God was relating to people. In other words, as divine lawgiver, and our willingness to accept divine authority, right? and then which would be the Ten Commandments and the Torah. And then the manna is the sense in which God sustains us, that miracle. And in that sense, it would be, since the throne, I think the fact that it's a throne, that is the idea of the king being seated, has to do, I believe, with permanence and security, and to symbolize those sorts of things. And also why the Yoshev Kruvim, who dwells upon the cherubim. We'll talk a little bit later about the cherubim, but I think they also symbolize the idea of us as human beings relating and supporting that divine authority, and also quite possibly the idea that, if you think about it, since an angel, right, a malach, basically does whatever the divine commands him or her to do, the angel has to do it. All right. Likewise, when we choose, we're a little above the angels because we can choose to do it or not to do it. And when we choose to do it, you can look at the Torah as being a manual to become an angel. That's in some ways symbolized by the cherubim on top of the ark. So a lot of symbolism, and I'm sure I'm sort of scratching the surface. There's also a classic interpretation of the ark itself, and that is the reason why it needed to be overlaid with gold on the inside, which you don't see. Obviously, overlaid on gold on the outside, everyone would see. And the idea of the definition of a Talmid Chacham, that is a wise student, meaning that that person is gold not only on the outside, but gold on the inside as well. That internally, we're also, in terms of how we personally process things and in terms of our personal behavior, we're also gold. So that's a classic interpretation of some of the symbolism of the ark. Going on. Vayitzafehu, it's probably Vayitzapehu Zahav Tahor, and he overlaid it with pure gold, mibayit umichutz, on the inside and on the outside. Vayas lo zer zahav saviv, and he made a zer, like a crown of gold around it. And I'll go to the picture right now to show you what we're talking about. Let's see if I can find. Here it is. This is what it's talking about. This is this zer, this wreath around the top of it. And again, the crown represented the crown of Torah, of someone practicing and living Torah, and the crown that goes along with it, that there is nobility associated with it. So there were crowns on the ark, there was a crown on the incense altar, and there was a crown on the showbread table as well. Those three crowns. And they represent the crown of Torah, let's see, there's the crown of sovereignty, which would be the crown of the bread, the sustaining, the idea of the king being responsible for sustaining his kingdom. And then the crown of the incense altar, I believe, would be a crown of the priesthood. And of course, the crown of a good name excels them all. Okay. So hopefully I have that right. Sadly, my memory seems to be a little bit more faulty as I'm getting older, things that I knew very well at one point. So going back into the text, let's see if this is it here. Vayitzok lo arba tabaot zahav, and he cast for it 4 gold rings, al arba pamotav, on its 4 sides, ushtei tabaot al sal'o ha'echat, and 2 rings on one side Ushtei tavot al tzalo hashenit, and 2 rings on the other side. And again, let me see what I can do to show you that. Okay, so we see these rings on one side and the 2 rings on the other side. Okay. Let's go back into here. Sorry. Here. Okay. All right, let's go on. Vayas badei atzei shitim. He made 2 poles of acacia wood, or I should say, it says he made poles of acacia wood, vaytzaf otam zahav, and he overlaid them with gold. So notice it doesn't say 2 poles, but it does say poles plural. And we've discussed this before, that when the Torah talks about something in the plural, we look at the minimum amount, and that's, of course, 2. 2 is the minimum amount. So it doesn't need to tell us that, the Torah doesn't need to tell us that he made 2 staves, 2 bars. We understand that simply from the fact that that's plural. Vayave et habadim batabaot, and he brought literally these staves into the rings, al salot ha'aron, on the sides of the ark, laseit et ha'aron, in order to carry the ark. And I can just show you the picture quickly again, and you can see it. Okay. Let's go back. Take a look at some others, just simply, that's without the ark cover. This is, of course, yes. Okay, we'll go back into this. Vayas kaporet sahav ta'or, and he made an ark cover of pure gold. Amatayim v'chetzi orko, 2.5 cubits its length. So its length would be the same as the length of the ark box itself. Va'ama v'chetzi rochba, and it's orcha or orka, its length. Va'ama v'chetzi rochba. Kaporet is feminine, so and a cubit and a half its width. Vayas shnei chuvim zahav, and he made 2 cherubs of gold. Miksha achsa otam, he made them out of beaten work. He beat the gold in order to create these cherubs. Mishnei tzot hakaporet, from the 2 sides of the ark cover. So let's take a look quickly, and we'll get to that. Here they are. Okay, so in other words, all this, okay, this is the ark cover, and these are the cherubs, and they were beaten out of 1 piece of gold, all beaten like that. Now, if you look carefully, you'll see that this is a male figure, and if you look carefully, you'll see that this is a female figure. So how did we know that? So here's the point. Because it says 2 kruvim, and it doesn't say vayas kruvim. If it had just said vayas kruvim zahav, he made cherubs of gold, we would know he made 2. So what does the shnei add here? The idea is that they were not identical. The fact that it says 2 means that they were different from each other, and that's a basis on which we're saying one was male and one was female. But I think from another point of view, that's of course quite significant, that they weren't both male or both female. They were one or the other. So let's go on. I think we did this. Okay, right. Karuv echad mikatzeh mizeh, 1 cherub from one side, karuv echad mikatzeh mizeh, and another cherub from the other side. Mina kaporet asa. There we go. From the ark cover aseh et hakruvim. He made it all from the ark cover, mishnei ktsotav, from its 2 sides. Vayu hakruvim porsech nafaim lamala, and these cherubs would spread their wings overhead. sochachim bechanfehem ala kaporet. They would cover over, the word sukkah that we use for the tabernacle. It's called a sukkah because of the protection it gives us from the sun overhead. It's named a sukkah because of its roof. So, in other words, they were covering with their wings ala kaporet over the ark cover. Ufnehem ish el achiv, and it's their faces one to the other. El hakaporet hayu fnei hakruvim, to the ark cover were the faces of the cherubs. And we'll go one more time, see if we can take a quick look. There we are. So, sort of towards each other, but facing each other. Okay. Let's go back here. Okay. Now we go into something else. So, vayas et hashulchan atzei shitim, and he made the table made out of acacia wood, amatayim or coarse, so it was 2 cubits long, v'amar rochbo, and 1 cubit wide, v'amar v'chetzi komato, and 1.5 cubits in height. And I'm going to show you one picture of this. Okay, let me do one more, a little bit more sentence. Vayitzaf oto zahav tahor, and he overlaid it with pure gold. Vayas lo zer zahav saviv, and he made, as we said, a wreath of gold around it. Okay, let's take a look. Here is the table. This is the zer, this is the crown. And if you count, there are 6 pans here and 6 pans here, and this is the table for showbread. And I know we're going to end early today, and I will continue with this and try to provide you with more illustrations of this table in tomorrow's lesson. So, back here. So, let me stop the share. And if you have any questions or any comments you'd like to make at this point. Yeah? Harlan, did you want to say something? Okay. All right. I'm going to stop the recording.